So last night we had some more information come out regarding Jaire Alexander. This has been a situation we've been watching closely, considering, when the season ended, there were some questions as to whether or not Jaire will be back in Green Bay just because of all the injuries he's suffered, the amount of money the Packers have been paying him. It just hasn't been a very good situation. Obviously, this has not gone as you'd hoped for the Packers. Anytime you have an injury and a guy's dealing with injuries consistently, it makes it very tough going forward. And so this is the newest update. Some information came out from Jordan Schultz. He said, meanwhile, two-time All-Pro Jaire Alexander is available via trade, although most executives believe the Packers will ultimately release him. So that's noteworthy because these executives work for these teams in the NFL, and it sounds like a lot of them do not see the Packers actually trading him, which means that they probably think that there aren't really many teams out there who want to give over draft capital to bring in Jaire Alexander. And I think that is not shocking to me because when you look at the cap situation, that's a massive part of this, is the fact that any team that brings him in will have to carry his $17.5 million cash payment for 2025 on their salary cap. And that is according to Justice Mosqueda, Acme Packing Company, with those numbers. So if you're bringing in Jaire, you're trading for him, you're having to pay him or having to have him at $17.5 million on your cap. And if you look at different cap hits for cornerbacks around the NFL, that would be the 8th highest cap hit at cornerback. And it would be one thing if Jaire Alexander had been healthy the past 3 seasons, maybe only missed a game here or there. But when you have a guy who has not played more than 7 games more than once in the past 4 years, you run the risk of, if you trade for Jaire, you're bringing in a guy that has a very good chance of not playing a lot of games. Hopefully, for his sake, he can be healthy in 2025. But that's just a massive risk for a $17.5 million cap hit. And it makes sense that teams probably don't want to trade for that kind of contract. And if the Packers release him, they can obviously, bring him in on some kind of different kind of deal and not have to give over or, pay him that kind of money. And I think that, with this being the case, it's looking more and more like the Packers may have to release him. It would have been awesome from the Packers' perspective if you got something in a trade for Jaire. I think it would be one thing if there were barely any cornerbacks in the free agent market. I assume the Packers, it would be more likely for the Packers to be able to get something in return if someone was very in need of a cornerback. Maybe you take the risk on Jaire. Maybe you trade like a 4th-round pick, a 5th-round pick. But when you have different guys who are already available, who are somewhat similar options to a Jaire because of his injury history, you got DJ Reed on the free agent market, Charvarius Ward, Carlton Davis. If you're a team that wants to bring in a veteran cornerback, why would you trade for a player that's going to have a pretty big cap hit against your cap in 2025 when you can bring in someone else, not have to trade away draft capital, and you can probably have a much smaller cap hit in the way that you structure their contract for the next few seasons? So it really is looking like Jaire is going to be released according to this report from Jordan Schultz. And it's just a overall unfortunate situation to be in if you're the Packers, just because, you pay Jaire a lot of money. And the tough thing is when he was healthy, he was pretty consistently playing as a top-tier cornerback. But when you're missing all the games that Jaire missed, it's just hard to rely on someone like that. And that's why the Packers, are seemingly willing to have a massive dead cap hit just to, maybe bring in some other cornerback and to move on from Jaire because there has just been that inconsistency. And I was thinking in my mind, like, is there any chance, any small percent chance that somehow he comes back? I just don't see it now with all this news that has come out. And you look at the fact that according to Tom Silverstein of Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, he claimed that a source told him that Alexander's camp in Green Bay had never talked about a pay cut because they know Alexander wouldn't accept it. And so since the end of the season, there have been signs that maybe Jaire wouldn't be back, from him saying that he wasn't sure if he'd be back in Green Bay in 2025. At the end of the season, you're wondering, like, what's going on? Why is Jaire still out? It seemed that he just continued to have complications with those injuries. So obviously, tough situation. You never want to have to deal with it, but the Packers are sort of just doing what they can with what they're dealt with, and I would assume that Jaire is released. Now, maybe there's a team out there that says, you know what, we really want Jaire. We're willing to take that contract on, and we will give up a 6th-round pick, 5th, 7th. Maybe some team out there does it, but according to this from Jordan Schultz, that's not looking very likely. Thank you guys for watching as always. If you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe down below and turn on the post notifications so you don't miss any Packers news. And I'll see you guys next time.